Well everyone, we're back once again for another international season of Love is Blind, this time in Sweden. Where here we're in store for a season full of some of the truly oddest contestants I've seen to date. And I don't think this is a Swedish thing, like it has to just be a coincidence, at least I hope so. Oh, and speaking of the whole Swedish thing, I left it to a vote and y'all decided this video was going to be in Swedish, with subtitles. So get ready to open up the pods and hear a whole lot of... But alright, here we are in the pods in Sweden for Season 2. And a whole new set of pod daters are released out into the wild to mingle and, well, we're gonna end up learning about 5 couples. So let's start by getting the easy one out of the way. The couple that didn't really have anyone else in the mix for most of the time in the pods, which, by the way, is only going to be for 3 episodes of the season instead of 6 like we had in the last US season, which, woof, was a slog. Now this couple is Victor and Natalie, one of the most boring couples in Love is Blind history.
Det är fan bästa jag varit med om. Vi gick så djupt på små detaljer. Vad har du för allergier? Men det finns inga fel.
Wow, deep topics like what allergies do you have? Boy, what are they gonna get into for their next date? What their favorite color is? Also, it turns out that Natalie and Victor's sister are both allergic to the same thing, and he has this big deal about his sister, which is honestly kind of triggering me considering how we just got out of Dave's season in the States. I can't deal with that again. But these two barely have an issue except for like one day where Natalie was a bit tired or something, so that's a quick proposal and meetup, although Natalie is feeling very rushed and very off.
Nej men det kändes lite konstigt. Känslan jag fick var lite så här, vad har jag gett mig in på?
I will say though, she does change her tune pretty quick, but alright, all 4 of our other couples have some sort of love triangle that goes on. The smoothest one, however, is the one that starts off with the most people, as Nicholas here is very popular early on. I mean, he's got like 5 or more women really into him.
Du snackar med Niklas.
Min favorit.
Det är ändå liksom dig som jag faktiskt har tänkt på.
Att jag kände så här att jag verkligen gillar dig.
And normally you'd think this would just get right into your head, and I'm so used to people in Nicholas's position on this kind of show, stringing things along and not wanting to lose all their options. But no, Nicholas gets very overwhelmed and is terrified he's going to make the wrong decision until he meets his match in Karin. Now he talks about having ADHD and being all over the place while she is wildly organized. But this feels like a balance to them. And when she dives into what his needs are and how she can support that, Nicholas is taken aback. So from that moment on, he's all Karin, and instead of stringing along the other women who put him as their number 1, he ends all of that for Karin, which I actually really respect. He even finds out they live like around the corner from each other, so it just becomes fate.
Vart har du varit i hela mitt liv?
Uppe backen bara, runt hörnet där borta.
So that's one more proposal down, one more meetup where they are both very happy with each other, you know, looks-wise, and 3 more to go. But it's here where things start to get a little wilder, a little weirder, and a lot messier. First with Oscar, Ola, Tim, Alicia, and Millie. And oh, you have to meet Ola. I mean, this man is something else. He's 42, he's dating Millie, and he has a very specific idea of what he wants out of this experience.
Jag letar egentligen inte efter kärleken, jag letar efter att dela min egna kärlek med någon.
Alright, if you're going, is that a red flag? Is he just being poetic? I'm not sure if that's a red flag. Well, trust your instincts on this one, cause when I'm talking about weird characters from this season, Ola is at the top.
Jag har hjälpt mig, alltså de här senaste 4 månaderna, så det här har varit en av mina största tryggheter.
Vill du säga det en gång till och bara hålla upp den?
Ni vill verkligen exponera stenen. Den vill inte, nu slöt den sig. Jag skojar inte.
Alright, well, keep your rock to yourself then, bud. Now, Ola is this kind of guru guy, and I honestly half expected him to come out saying something like...
I've been involved in a number of cults, both as a leader and a follower. You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
cause he's the kind of guy who's out here pulling the physical pain he smells in the room from his fellow podmen. He also gets really turned off when Millie mentions she drinks Coca-Cola and enjoys candy, something he would never dare to poison his body with.
Okej.
Jag är sjukt stolt över att jag fick uppleva den här smärtan och kunna vara med den. Och det känns så skönt, det känns som en frihet för mig.
Okej.
So Millie is having a really rough go from all directions, as she's also dating Oscar here, and this is how that goes.
Men det kan också bero på att jag är tvilling.
Ja, tvilling har jag ju kanske inte så jättebra erfarenhet av.
Nej. Men tänker du på stjärntecken nu eller biologiskt?
Nej, stjärntecknet tänkte jag på. Du är alltså inte stjärntecknet tvilling?
Det är jag det också dock.
Exakt. Och där fick du en röd flagga för det. Det blir ett minus för att det är tvilling. Men det blir också plus för att jag tycker inte du beter dig som en tvilling.
Okej.
Okay, this was actually one of my favorite Love is Blind interactions ever. It was just completely stupid. Now, Oscar here is also dating Alicia, and she is also dating Tim. Tim is more outgoing, but Oscar goes all in on Alicia and really affirms her, especially after his date with Millie went so poorly. So, because Tim seems more unsure and Oscar seems so sure, Alicia quickly dumps Tim. However, once Millie has had a few more dates with Ola, she decides, you know what, maybe I would like to see Oscar again, cause at least he doesn't cringe when I say I drink a Coke every once in a while. And well, Oscar is pleasantly surprised, and turns out, Oscar's also a real horn dog.
Men jag gillar ju liksom fysisk beröring. Känna dina axlar, jag kanske vill känna din arm.
Ta på andra kroppsdelar. På mig jättemycket nu idag.
Och jag kommer... Ja, jag växer...
So suddenly, Oscar is now putting Millie as his number one, until Ola comes in and tells him, hey bud, maybe you should sleep on it. And magically, the next morning, I don't know, maybe through the power of that rock Ola doesn't want anyone to see, Oscar has changed his mind back to Alicia, and these two get engaged and happily meet up. Funny he says that, cause I think he just did. So Millie is just left with Ola here, but Ola decides, hey, I don't want to limit you, Millie, so I'll make a huge sacrifice and eat some chips with you. And yep, these two decide to somehow get engaged, then meet up, and if you're as confused and concerned as I was, again, I'd say trust your instincts on this one.
Men nu är jag helt varm i hela kroppen. Jag känner hur jag typ strålar med energi.
Uh-oh, he's about to have a love surge.
So Sean is having a love surge right now, and he's gonna wrap around me and shake with the electricity of love until I catch it too and start shaking, and then you explode with a love surge.
Som sagt var, hela kroppen skakar utav att det är så mycket energi.
Which leaves one last couple, and this one includes Yakob here, who quickly gets his list down to just Emily and Karolina. Pretty much because on the first day he asked everyone if having no pets was a deal breaker, since he is deathly allergic, and these two are the only two who said no.
Han har åkt till akuten flera gånger för att någon bara gått förbi honom med en katt. Så jag bara, okej, vet du, där kommer aldrig gå.
Det låter som att någon har problem. Är jag rädd för katter, eller? Men vad fan?
Wait, really? How is this man not living as a bubble boy? You know what, at least he's safe for the next couple of weeks in the pods, and maybe that's the reason why he's signed up. Now, Yakob has this big story he's waiting to share with someone special. Essentially, he was attacked at knife point and escaped, but the resulting trauma caused him to turn to drugs, which he's now clean from. First, he tells Emily, but later, when he also expresses it to Karolina, Karolina comes gushing out of the pods thinking this is it. Yakob has picked her. And she says all this in front of all the women thinking no one will know who she's talking about cause, well, there's no way he shared this story with anyone else. She doesn't even use his name, she just brings up this important story.
Han bara, det finns en grej i mitt liv som jag vill... Han bara, jag har inte delat den med någon här inne, utan att det här är något som kan ta mig liksom flera månader.
All the while, Emily is listening wide-eyed because she knows who this is, and it has to be Yakob.
Nej, men alltså jag kan säga så här, alltså vi sa ju liksom...
Att ni har valt varandra?
Ja. Jag har suttit där inne och sagt så här, men du är min nummer 1. Punkt liksom.
Did he? Cause if we go back in the pods, he says stuff very specifically like, "You're the important one," but, "and I'm no Swedish expert." It seems like he's being very careful with his wording.
Du har varit nummer 1 sedan dag 1 för mig så.
Ja, du är fin. Du är den som är viktigast.
Vad söt du är.
So Emily then decides on their next date to confront him, and in the resulting conversation, Yakob completely affirms Emily.
Du har ju alltid varit den som jag har känt mest för och du har varit min trygga punkt här. Ja, etta eller vad fan du vill kalla det.
But then, in the pods with Karolina right after, he brings up everything that happened with Emily cause the confrontation upset him, and now Karolina is mad, so he backtracks and calls Karolina his soulmate, right after calling Emily his number 1. So once again, Karolina comes gushing back into the living space, saying this.
Och Yakob, vi har sagt att vi ska avsluta allting annat. Vi har liksom bestämt det, han och jag. Alla andra bort.
Which is really like so mean because Emily is right there and she knows he's also dating Emily. Like Karolina came in parading in front of Emily's face, seeing Emily that Yakob was ending things with his other girl, aka you, Emily. So Emily goes to talk with Karolina, who is like absolutely shocked when Emily talks about the intimate details of this story that Yakob shared. Cause I mean, this can't be made up. So when it's time for her next date with Yakob, Emily decides to not show up, which had me going, good for her. Karolina, on the other hand, well, after some more Yakob backtracking, she's all good once again and they get engaged. Where Karolina is so pumped, she goes,
Jag kommer springa fram till dig.
But does she? Does she run? Oh, that's not the case. She takes one look at Yakob and, oh boy.
Oh my god.
So yeah, the body language is just off. He's super happy, but she's looking mortified.
Tror jag att han kanske sen kände mer när vi sågs.
Wow, after all that, she's not even into the dude. Wild. But it's at this point our couples head off to their honeymoon phase in Crete. And I'll mostly be focusing on the messes cause, well, it's mostly all messes. But for now, we won't be hearing much from Nicholas and Karin because they're pretty solid throughout. I mean, one of their biggest worries is that they see all these other couples fighting and working through it all, and Nicholas is kind of jealous as he'd like to get to know their communication styles, at least their communication styles during fights, something he thinks is pretty important before getting married. But okay, let's now check in with Victor and Natalie to see how they're doing.
Har du spelat någon dart?
Jag har spelat det. Jag är inte så bra på det, men jag har spelat det.
Med tandaljus också. Jag köper också de här, det är så inne nu att köpa de här sakerna av Ikea. De här som är stora, mindre och...
Yes, more deep important conversations I see. Oh, and it turns out that Karolina isn't the only one having issues with their fiancé's appearance. Remember how Millie said she had a twin? Well, Millie's always cut her hair short, while her twin has kept it very long, which seems to be a bit of a problem for Ola.
Men sen är det en sak som jag har nog tidigare gått igång på. Det är hår. Alltså att ha långt, vackert hår.
Där är du inte än då, att du liksom kan se på mig och bara, vad hon är vacker.
Nej, det där är inte än.
Sorry, I also forgot to mention that previously he said this hair thing wasn't a problem.
Ja, jag är ju det.
Fint.
Tycker du det?
Ja. Nej, det är jättefint. Du har kortare än jag.
So now it's chips, candy, Coke, and the hair for Ola, and when he finds out that she vapes sometimes, oh, you know it's bad, and he calls all those things addictions. Manifestations of her insecurities come out in the form of addictions, which, by the way, he is so forward with.
Käkar du sånt där varje morgon?
Ja. Varenda dag.
And as for Alicia and Oscar, well, she's getting frustrated because the guy won't express any emotions with her. Something she brings up to the others at the couples meetup, the part where they all get together to see each other for the first time. And here, really the only awkwardness is between Millie and Oscar, cause he dumped her for Alicia, and now she's stuck with the guru guy. Also, Victor does complain that Natalie is, quote, boring, and he's worried it will always be like that.
Hon kanske inte kommer kunna räcka till för mig. Att hon inte kan vara den här spralliga, busiga kanske tjejen som jag söker då.
Pretty rich coming from the guy who was talking about darts and IKEA candles. Then the host comes in and she's like 10 times more active in this season than Nick and Vanessa are in theirs, although that's not really saying much, but she's also super nosy. Like, she asks everyone if the weddings were today, who would say yes, and basically they only show 3 answers. Yakob, who says yes, Millie, who says...
Hade sagt ja.
Yikes, girl. And Ola, who not surprisingly says no, but who knows what might happen if Millie decides to wear a long wig and give up the candy and coke and vaping and all that stuff she likes. Then they're off back to real life in Sweden, where it's once again time to check in on Natalie and Victor.
Ja, salt är nog min favoritkrydda.
Det är det.
Jag älskar salt.
Gillar du vitlök då?
Ja, det är gott.
Another classic deep conversation between these two. It's also at this point that everyone gets their phones back and can talk to their friends and family. Like Ola, who shockingly has a phone, and tells his mom about the whole experience. Well, everything except the part where he mentions Millie, his, you know, fiancé.
Pratar du något om mig då?
Nej.
Ingenting?
Nej.
Nej.
What the
So Ola is super inward. It's his feelings. He shares his love with someone else, which gets Millie really frustrated. So Ola decides to help the matter by inviting his close friend over named B. And I was in an absolute fever dream when this woman came over.
Hey, Mia!
Oh.
3 hours later.
Hela min nacke knakar.
Shit, så stark.
Är jag?
Nej, jag är så stark. Wow.
Are we sure he said B and didn't mean to say bae? Cause this lady is way more Ola's vibe.
Vad vill du ha?
Vatten.
Vatten.
Vatten. Vatten.
Vatten, vatten, vatten.
Oh, no Coca-Cola or candy? Shocker.
Ola, det finns en kvinna som jag vet att du tycker jättemycket om.
Is it Millie?
Och det är jag.
Millie, get out of that house now before you get midsummered, quick. And B keeps saying the same stuff about addictions while Ola is just looking on going, see? Though B does say Millie's free caring attitude is probably the universe sending Ola what he needs to balance himself out, which Ola promptly ignores by ending things with Millie right before they all get together for a big engagement party.
Jag känner mig väldigt grundad, jag känner mig väldigt connectad och det känns, och då känns det jättetydligt. Att jag tror inte du är rätt person för mig.
Okay.
Yeah, actually B is my bae, so I must depart. But okay, this engagement party is actually a pretty big deal as it stirs a few things up. First, there's Victor. He's not sure if he's ready to say I love you to Natalie, who at this point has really warmed up and gotten over all that stuff from their meetup, and has said I love you to him. So he now feels the pressure. He's also got that Dave thing going on where it's all about the opinion of his mother and his sister, but here Natalie gets to actually meet her, and when the sister gives Victor her blessing, and Victor gets talked down by the guru, he does tell Natalie that he loves her back. Then there's Karolina, who was just starting to open up to the idea of maybe being okay with Yakob's looks. However, when Emily arrives, it's quickly back to this.
Är det någonting du har sagt som inte jag vet om? Och då var man lite så här, nej men det finns ingenting och jag har sagt allt och bla 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 bla. Och då kände jag så här, nej nu snackar du skit, kände jag.
So these two spend an hour talking to each other, which gets Karolina livid, but like, come on, an hour? For all they needed to discuss, including the whole pod stuff? This is also a TV show. It takes like an hour to just get anything set up. But the biggest scene is with Alicia and her ex Tim, because Alicia is feeling at her wit's end with Oscar. He's just blank with her emotionally. Like one time she brings up the idea of spending a weekend or just a Saturday to go see her family, and he goes, nah, I think you can go alone, cause I like to have my alone time.
Alltså vissa gånger skulle jag nog uppskatta att bara du åker och jag känner att jag vill vara bara här hemma för mig själv. Eller jag kanske bara ibland, alltså jag uppskattar ju att ha en hemmakväll. med mig själv.
So when Tim comes in and is like...
Fina ögon också, jag dör.
Hade du friat mig?
Ja, det hade jag gjort, 100%.
Hade du gjort det?
100%.
Åh, herre.
Ja.
Nej.
Jo.
Oh, you know Alicia's going...
I've made a huge mistake.
And this scene is wild, cause they're just there holding hands and rubbing each other and she's crying.
Jag trodde jag hade släppt det och gått vidare lite, men jag hade lite fel där.
Just nu är det skitjobbigt. Så det är därför kändes så jävla olägligt att träffa dig just idag. Liksom.
Okay, Oscar is so cooked. And it doesn't take long before these two decide that it's time, they're officially done. Even when Alicia decides to give it one last go and meet up with Oscar, well, Oscar's there to say, honestly, you know what I felt while you were gone?
Nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Ska jag liksom kämpa vidare mot ett bröllop om 2 veckor när jag inte ens känner någonting när hon åker iväg?
Well, guess it's time to go knock on Tim's door. But alright, to wrap the season up, the 3 remaining couples have their wedding suit and dress shopping days, and they all have their bachelor and bachelorette parties. Oh, and of course, we couldn't have this season without one last random fight between Yakob and Karolina, where here, Karolina starts off by saying she's finally ready to express her feelings for Yakob.
Jag har ju aldrig vågat trott eller att det finns killar som dig.
Vad gör du?
Jag tittar.
He's calling you beautiful while you share a, well, beautiful sentiment with him?
Jag försöker prata.
Ja, jag lyssnar samtidigt som jag...
Okej, får jag prata nu eller?
Y'all, he said one word, and the word was beautiful. But this just seems to be the way this couple operates. As one second, it's a weird fight, and then the next, Karolina decides to express what Yakob has been waiting to hear.
Jag älskar dig.
Nej.
Wait, are you serious? Stop this.
No.
And she finally runs to him. Though it's a little forced because he asked for it, but she runs to him.
Äntligen har det sprungit. Det tog ett tag innan det sprang för mig.
So that's all Yakob needed, the final sentiment before he's ready to say yes. And we're now headed into the weddings. First with Karin and Nicholas, where the only issue for them has been, well, they've had no issues to fight about.
Det var ju någonting jag sa förut, att jag bara, kan jag gifta mig med någon som jag aldrig har bråkat med eller aldrig haft en tjafsat med på något sätt. Jag tror det handlar om så många andra som sa hela tiden att
man måste bråka typ för att...
Man måste bråka för att gå igenom den och hur det fungerar. Och...
But yeah, this one is a total lock. They seem truly good for each other, and Nicholas is in total tears during their vows, which are quite sweet.
Tänk att det krävdes en vägg mellan oss i en annan stad för mig att hitta dig. När du varit framför näsan på mig hela tiden.
So this one's a no-brainer, both say absolutely I do, and we've got one married couple already, right at the beginning, and I'm always curious why they do the ordering of the weddings in the way they do each season. Like, putting Karin and Nicholas first, the for sure lock of the season, usually means there's a yes at the end because this show usually wants to end on a happy note. Like, if when they filmed this day, the other two couples said no, they'd probably have wanted to put Karin and Nicholas at the end to leave us feeling good. So, as we head into the next wedding, I was wondering, is it going to be Yakob and Karolina? Are they going to put Victor and Natalie last? But nope. Victor and Natalie are next, and Victor is feeling the pressure.
Men jag kände en annan känsla. Det är liksom, samtidigt känns som det är så mycket som står på spel. Det är liksom nästan lite skakig känner jag. Så det, ja.
Alright, bro's been spending way too much time with Ola. But before you go and think there's actually anything juicy about to happen here, you gotta remember that these two are...
Boring! Boring! Boring!
So hit it!
Jag vill spendera resten av mitt liv med dig. Ja. Klart jag vill.
Det finns ingen annan som jag vill göra den här resan med. Så ja, absolut.
So that's 2 for 2 on the weddings, and I was going, what is happening right now? Does this mean Yakob and Karolina are actually going to happen? Even with the notion that they want to end on a happy note, I for one am not sure, and even Karolina feels the same way.
Nej, Jag är här, men jag är fortfarande... Jag är inte riktigt mentalt här än.
But then they come down for their wedding, and of course, Yakob is a yes.
Det här är det säkraste beslutet jag har tagit i mitt liv. Ja, jag vill dela mitt liv med dig.
Which means it's now time for Karolina's decision, which honestly will have you shook.
Du har varit min nummer 1 sedan dag 1. Och det är aldrig någonting som har ändrats längs vägen. Jag har alltid vetat att det var du. Så ja!
Wait, she said yes? Really?
Wait, are you serious?
Wow, this was honestly one of the most shocking yeses I've seen from this franchise. Like, there was so much animosity and arguing and ups and downs and her not being into him but then saying he's such a good guy. But maybe that's just the way these two are. They seem to be comfortable when it's chaotic. But there you have it. 3 for 3 on the wedding days. At least for today, Sweden came in delivering the love stories. So, to all the happy couples, I wish you well, or as they say in Swedish, So that's it for this recap of Love is Blind Sweden Season 2. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, comment your thoughts and theories down below, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And until next time, Bachelor Fantake out.
I've been involved in a number of cults, both as a leader and a follower. You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
Okej.